Down the Lens Podcast. Down the Lens Podcast.
For a while, people were started saying, it was whispers of people coming up to us saying, oh, do you do weddings? And we're like, no, we don't do weddings. And after a while, we're like, are people going to pay us to do this then? So we're like, all right, let's give it a go. And our niche is that we are kind of like a hybrid between like venue-based photography and outdoor photography.
Yeah.
So at the time, we were known for our sort of landscape shots and stuff. Well, why kick that under the rug at this point? Why not just have that as our niche? We ask what kind of feel they want to go for. And often they come back saying, oh, we want summaries, light look to our photos.
They typically send links through to videos that they've seen.
We tried again to send us like Pinterest boards and stuff if we can, just so we kind of get a look.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 15. I'm joined here with Nick. Hello Nick, how are you?
Very good, how are you?
Good mate. Introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are.
So my name's Nick RIDD. I'm a sort of freelance videographer and photographer for a company called Phinix in South Wales. We primarily deal with wedding photography and tiny bit of freelance, but it's mainly weddings these days.
And when you say we, you and your partner, from my
Me
research.
And my wife. Yeah, my wife and I. So so that's where the we sort of just joined forces, I guess, for lack of a better expression. And she does mainly the photography, and I do primarily the videography. But then obviously we get hired just to do photography, and we both do the photography. So yeah.
So did you meet before you were like obviously not separate, but obviously was she started out as a photographer, then you were a videographer, and you kind of collabed together?
No, weirdly enough. I mean, so we met in about 2015 and obviously started hanging out a bit and stuff like that. And I gradually started going into photography, obviously with iPhones, that sort of stuff. I dabbled a bit in it with GoPros and, nothing major, just mainly GoPro photography and stuff. And then she got a bridge camera. And then I was like, oh, cool, I fancy a bit of that as well. It's pretty cool. So then I got a camera, and then we just started spending time together, going out, and then it happened organically. We sort of just fell into it, I guess. So
what was you doing beforehand then?
Just training to be teachers and lecturers, basically. Okay. And we actually met on a teaching course. So then when we started seeing each other after that, that's when the photography thing started to happen, where we hung out a bit more. So then
you set up the actual wedding photography thing back in 2010?
No, it was way after that. We started, so we finished our teaching course in about 2015. So quite late on, actually. And if I had to put in a word of how it started, probably organically or accidentally even, I guess. So we started taking photos, and obviously when you're a new couple, you start going out on more walks and stuff, and people are like, wow, these places are cool and really exciting, and like, oh, how do you find these places? And then you get a dialogue going, that sort of stuff.
So you're doing kind of like landscape stuff, as a hobby
kind of,
then?
Yeah, I wouldn't say adventure photography, because it's not really, it was just us on walks.
Yeah, I think that's how I started out, really. Just, you like the area that you grow up in, and you kind of you got your first camera, and you think, oh, actually, I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah, and then you start doing a bit more digging into like local hikes, and then you start going to like, waterfalls and things like that. And then after a while, people were started saying, there was whispers of people coming up to us saying, oh, do you do weddings? And we're like, no, we don't do weddings. And after a while, we're like, are people going to pay us to do this then? So we're like, all right, let's give it a go. And initially, there was a bit of not a delay in getting started, but it was kind of hard to get started. So people were like, do you do weddings? We're like, yes, great. Have you got any examples? And we're like,
got a portfolio,
we haven't got a portfolio at this point. We got loads of shots of waterfalls and valleys and stuff.
Us walking, holding hands.
Exactly. So we had that niche in our pocket, but we didn't have the wedding stuff. And we basically called upon all our friends to act as couples.
Okay, that's clever thinking.
Yeah, so we decided we wanted to get a back catalogue going. And the first video we did, which is kind of rough on the edges now, it's mainly my brother and my cousin and stuff like that, and their partners at the time and things. And so it's kind of staged, but it's just to show that we could film couples rather than. Did
you use an actual venue, or did you just kind of go out in the nature
we went
kind
outside,
of thing?
because our niche is that we are kind of like a hybrid between like venue-based photography and outdoor photography. So at the time, we were known for our sort of landscape shots and stuff. We thought, well, why kick that under the rug at this point? Why not just have that as our niche? And we basically took them on walks to there was one with a snowscape, I think it was. We just took them up by Cray Reservoir in the forest.
Yeah, because you said you're from Neath.
So I'm from Neath originally,
So you got the waterfalls down there and stuff, where they filmed like Batman and stuff. They've done some cave scenes.
Got Henry Falls, which is probably about 40 minutes from us as well. We don't go there very often anymore because it's obviously taken off in terms of popularity. But most of the initial video we did, the promo reel then, I guess, that was done down Gower. So we got a lot of beaches. So
Gower's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And most of my family, all my family are from Swansea. So, it was kind of like a nice, we know the area. We thought, let's go to some of the niche sort of beaches. And yeah, we just sort of staged it all essentially. And
so then do you remember your first paid client?
Yes. Yeah. So the first one we did, I remember just being
bricking it?
Absolutely bricking it, yeah.
What was the scariest thing? What was like the one thing that you were dreading the most?
Missing something, if I'm honest. But
a shot or like audio?
No,
my biggest thing was capturing the audio from the speeches.
I mean, my degree is in music tech, so,
so you're I'm
all right. I knew that, like, if I'm going in there with one camera, I've got at least 4 microphones for that one camera sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, we were bricking it the first time, absolutely. So probably wasn't as much because she does the photography, so she's kind of used to that.
Yeah, they got the one click and they're done kind of thing.
With me, it's like, right, well, I've got like 2 main cameras at the time, and then I've used I utilize my GoPros for like room mics and stuff like that, room cameras and stuff. So I had like 4 cameras, I think, and about 5 or 6 audio sources at the time. So for me I was just saying to her all the time, I wish I just had like a kill switch. I can just turn them all on at once and stomp, you know. But like you have to run around, tell everyone like, give me a 5-second warning, so I got to dart around like a wasp, basically, just like, you know,
record, going around.
Yeah, and I remember just like breaking it, but I was like, well, I mean, that was my biggest thing. I think I used that fear to make sure I didn't miss anything, essentially. So you kind of use that fear of you know, missing something out, and you use it to your advantage and think well, I'm going to get 10 things just to reassure myself, just make sure I get everything. But yeah, I remember thinking, like, when we did our first client, it wasn't so much that I remember it just being drastically different from shooting your partner or your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you have to, we advertise ourselves as a fly in the water photography, so we don't like the pose stuff.
Yeah, all right. So you candid shots.
Candid shots, So and we use minimum prompting, so we want the couple to know we're not there, essentially.
Yeah.
However,
a ghost in the background.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But however, you can push that niche as much as you want. But no matter what project you do, if you know it's commercial, weddings, and there's always going to be an aspect of prompting someone.
Yeah.
And then when we were halfway through the day, we nail it now. But like at the initial stage, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to prompt someone. I know what I want it to look like, but how do we express that? You know?
Yeah.
So that took a little work initially. And the first one, I remember thinking, like, looking back, we're like, right, it worked out well, and we're lucky we did it.
Yes.
But I remember looking back and thinking, like, oh God, I wish I did something different. I wish I used more of a prompt. I wish I, you know, explained it. I wish I put myself in the shot to pose and pretend. And
did you kind of do some research like beforehand, like the kind of poses you wanted to do?
Oh yeah,
because obviously your wife's going to have her set of poses, and obviously you're going to want a lot of motion and camera movement in yours, aren't you?
And that's the hardest thing, I think, initially, is like, it's fine to go in and think like, oh yeah, I've got these photography poses in shot, you know, in mind, and you can get those in shot. And I'm not saying they're easier, but in a way they are, because it's one click and that's it. You capture that one frame.
She using a flash?
I think she was at the time.
Flash is a devil at a wedding, and you're trying to get a clip.
With a clip, it's like banned in everywhere.
Hate flashes.
Yeah, so we had she had a flash, but the way we do it is that more often than not, she goes first and prompts them and gets them a bit loosened up and stuff. The video, I find they have to, I don't want to use the word act, but they're a bit more reluctant to act on camera. And that's by doing the movements, a stroke of the hair, that sort of stuff, leaning for a kiss. It's a bit more, they're a bit more on edge for it. So when it comes to doing that at the wedding, I always try to go second, because so it kind of loosens them up with the getting used to be posed together and stuff, you know? So sometimes I'll jump in and be like, oh, that's a good pose. Let me just quickly take a shot of that and stuff. And I'll use it as a quick close-up shot of the arm or something. But yeah, it's we've got it nailed now, but I wish I did it a lot differently at the beginning.
And how many weddings do you think it took for you to actually nail the directing?
To be honest with you, it's an ongoing art.
That's true, because every couple's different, I guess. You might get, like, some couples are happy to work with you, other ones are just like...
Yeah. I mean, what tends to happen is you do one wedding and be like, all right, we absolutely smashed that. Everything went perfect, everything went great. And then the one after it would be like, oh my God, I completely messed that up. You know, or I wish I had that sort of feeling when I left the last wedding, this wedding, and you feel like you could always done more. And it's kind of like a wave almost, in that you could walk away feeling absolutely
on a high.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna fail again at a
Nailed
wedding.
that.
Nailed it. Yeah, and then the week later you do another wedding, and you'd be like, well, that was a sham. You know,
is that sham on your part, or like working with the client and you just didn't, the relationship didn't kind of work out?
No, it's different factors. It can be different things. You know, you can't control the weather, you can't control the venue.
Sometimes the venues,
So the venue, I mean, we've never had a bad venue, but in terms of like, you look at a venue beforehand, do your research and stuff. It looks fantastic, and you go then like, this is going to be so hard to capture on film. You know, photography isn't too bad because you can sort of, you know, like we get weird things like people have their pose shots in front of a doorway, which is a fantastic doorway, but there's a big green fire exit on top of it.
Oh, right, okay.
So you can blemish that out quite quick.
In Photoshop,
obviously with video, you have to be a bit more creative and do like, well, I'm gonna have to go lower in my shots, or I'm gonna have to get the side angle rather than the front angle. So there's always, every wedding's a learning curve. Definitely.
Have you ever had to work with other photographers and videographers?
Yes.
And how did you find that experience?
So videographer wise, great. Absolutely great. Because I feel like we're all on the same page. We kind of all know what it takes to get a shot, and there's no stepping on toes. And that's fine. Photographers, I find like
nasty little buggers.
Yeah, I don't want to be like, I mean, they kind of forget why
shade.
They're there. Yeah.
Pro shade.
Exactly. And I mean, we're all freelance. We're all getting our own sort of self-promo out of it. Yeah. And I feel like photographers that have weddings, when you work as a, this is why me and Soph push ourselves together, because we work well together.
Good. Yeah.
You know, we know exactly, like, you know, if it comes to the like the confetti walk, she's like, well, you're taller, go behind me and go over, and I'll go low with the shots. And
if you're working with someone else,
you can't do that. You can't.
Trying to get in there.
Yeah. And I remember once at a wedding, I was working just the photographer, just the videography side of it, and Soph wasn't there. But I was working with another photographer who was, I'm not going to say names obviously, but very well renowned and stuff like that. Very nice person. And I remember like, he was kind of like saying at the beginning, like, yeah, any good shots you see, let me know. And you know, anything I see that, you know, you're doing well, I'll jump in and take photos. Like, oh, great. Yeah, we're on the same page. About an hour later, I saw him like darting through the window in the back with the bride and groom, running down to the lake. I'm like,
trying to get his own separate.
Yeah. And I was like, why are you being like he's almost like he's kicking me out. At that point. Yeah. And I didn't see it as a personal attack, because I was like, well, you know what, he probably does it to everyone. But I was like, well, you're robbing that couple of a good shot down by the lake now, you know, because like, as much as it's like, it's great for your portfolio, we don't think of it as a portfolio. We think of like, what can we get in the final product for the couple?
Yeah, for the couple,
that's why we're there at the end of the day. But that kind of, I saw that as a kind of like, you know, well, oh, great, well done, mate. But I was kind of like, well, if I was there with you, I wouldn't be in your way. I've never step on your toes. Yeah. But you're kind of pulling me out of that shot. And I thought it was kind of, that kind of repeated through the day. And, you know, it was really awkward then later on, sitting down for our midpoint food, and he's like, oh, how's it going? I was like, well, it could be going better, mate. Yeah, thanks, you know. So
you're causing me issues now.
Yeah, you know, and it's only an isolated sort of issue I've had.
Yeah, I've had it once or twice. Yeah. There was I done my research on a couple of poses, dynamic movements that I wanted to do. Kind of, if you think of like how like geese or swans fly in the sky like a triangle.
Oh yeah, sure.
I wanted like the groom at the front, and then all like the best men and all the groomsmen like in a triangle,
like the flying V from Mighty Ducks.
So I was like, this is going to be one of my good dynamic shots. So I got the brides to do it, then I got the grooms to do it, and then the photographer caught on. Right, he was quite a boisterous man. It was him and his wife, not you. Who was it? It wasn't you and your wife. It was him and his wife, and she was an absolute nut job. Anyway, she's a nice lady, but she was mental. Like, come on, you lot over here for photos and all. Like, whoa. Yeah. But anyway, I lined up for the shot and everything. I was trying to, obviously, I didn't want anyone in the background. I wanted like the castle in the foreground and them lot in the front. Anyway, I started doing the movement like that. And he's like, oh, I love this. And then started getting on it. And then obviously the flash was going off. And I was like, I just need five minutes, please.
You can do it again.
Because like, I like to do what you and obviously your wife do, like the candid shots in the background. You don't want them to feel like, you want them to feel like they're actually having a wedding day. They're not turning up for a photo shoot. They want to spend time with their family. And I remember by the end of the evening, around about 7 o'clock, I could luckily the groom was like one of my good friends from school. Okay. And long story short, you could see by the 7 o'clock in the evening, they were getting absolutely fed up. Their eyes were rolling. They had spent no time with their loved ones or friends and family. Yeah. But I knew that was down to the photographer. Yeah. And I was more working in the background. So that gave me a peace of mind, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our goal, we kind of have the structure of our day kind of nailed now. When we first doing it, we were kind of finding it hard to find that time as well, where we're on the topic of like, you know, taking them away from the day and stuff. Our structure is very much like, it's all go until the ceremony, like non-stop, like film everything, yeah? And then that's when we do our shots, because the same thing, we don't want them to be fed up by the evening. They get a bit drunk and stuff.
Yeah, they're not actually enjoying their wedding day, because it's the first part's real stressful. Then they have obviously the vows and the ceremony, and then they're worrying about the speeches. And then straight after usually dinner, you take them for like, well, depending how long. Obviously,
we usually do about 30 minutes. We usually try to work around a quarter.
Some people might do possibly 2 hours if the venue's nice. They might go down to the lake, then they might go front of the castle, then like these nice overlaying trees and stuff like that. And then just
which looks nice, but I don't think it's representative of what happened on the day. So our fly on the wall attempt is that we're not going to stage anything. No one's going to look back and be like, oh, remember that? Remember we posed like that all day. No, you didn't. You know, do it like it was natural. Have them there hug in, have a moment and stuff like that. I'm not a big advocate for pose photography or videography in the slightest, but we found the biggest problem with finding that sort of time in the day to get the pose shots was that they were starving, because obviously they have this ceremony. They've had all morning when they've had a few drinks and stuff in the morning to loosen up. They had a ceremony, and then they come up to us about 7 o'clock and we're like, all right, cool, do you want to do the shot, especially in the summer when it's nice sunset and and they're like, yeah, can we have somebody? We haven't, we've been hugging people all day.
They've been trying to speak to family and friends, and they got you.
And they're literally trying to grab the stuff off the plate and stuff as it's going past, and it's like, there's no way they can get any food. So we're like, right, have some food. And then we kind of found that in the evening didn't work for us, so we kind of did it straight after the ceremony if we could, after they've had a few little
after the speeches and stuff like that.
No, usually before the speeches, because it's in a wedding,
in between that gap.
Yeah, there's usually like a 4-hour lull. So
okay.
So we say they get married at midday more often than not. Like I think the most recent one we had was it was quite early, so they married at midday, and about 3 or 4 o'clock, something like that. That's when the speeches were. In that 3-hour gap, we're like, look, can we just get you for half hour? Yeah. And you're free to go. You won't see us for the rest of the evening.
Do you tend to do like your family ones then?
Yes.
Like groom's side, brides.
Yeah. So we always say in our questionnaire, because we always send a question out before.
Nice touch.
Very good, yeah.
List off a couple of questions from your questionnaire. What have we got?
Oh, right. Okay. So it's kind of typical stuff, where's the venue? Are the bride and groom getting ready at the same place? Because we need to coordinate ourselves. Because sometimes they get ready on the site and it's fine, but sometimes we find out, right, the bride's getting ready on site, but the groom is 5 miles away. Yeah. So we're like, well, we'll hit him first and then come to site and set up, because otherwise...
Yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, because a lot of people do that, don't they? They like to get ready in separate places. So you're thinking, right, I need pictures of both.
Exactly, yeah. And sometimes it's more often than not the bride that wants the longer time in the morning, because the girls are far more involved. The groom doesn't want to be on camera.
No, he's like, a couple of ties.
Yeah. So I'm like, right, I'll dart over there, be like, mate, I know you're nowhere near ready. Stand in front of the window, put your jacket on, take it off, and I'll go.
And do your watch up.
Yeah, and that's it. Typical shots like that, just to have the cut between, and that's it. And we're done in like 10 minutes. So one of the questionnaires we ask is where they are, so we can coordinate ourselves quite well. Yeah. And there's been 1 or 2 times where Soph's had to go separately and I've had to go separately, but because we both got cameras that are functional for video and photography.
Oh yeah, it's hybrid switch between. Yeah,
it's easy enough. So sometimes it's not logistically possible to be 2 places at once. So that's one of our main questions. We ask for point of contact. So that could be usually the best man, the bridesmaids, or sometimes it's often like a member of the family that knows everyone there. We essentially need to know someone who's everyone there, because if we got the next question, which is who do you want in these essential pose shots, and they're like, oh yeah, we want David and so, I'm like, well, I don't know who David is. So it's like I need someone to go to and be like, right, tell me who this guy is, or get them together. Right, got you. And they act as a speaker for the thing. They like shouting like, John, we need John, and all that sort of stuff. And like, it's a lot more. Comes with a lot more authority from him than it would from us.
So you don't like look like the nagging.
We don't look like the nagging person. No. So that's the other question we have. The other kind of stuff we have is like a structure of the day. So we always try to get, sometimes if we meet them early on, they're nowhere near planning. So we always have a follow-up Zoom meet closer to the thing. So it might be like a week before the wedding, so they know where they are in terms of times. And, things change drastically sometimes as far as the day before, So we meet as close as we can to the wedding day to find out what the day looks like. And we get all the times of like the ceremony, the speeches, the first dance, cake cutting, all that sort of stuff. And we use that to sort of decide what kind of wedding package you want in terms of hours, but also we use it to coordinate our day. And then we'd be like, right, cool. You can see we've got a massive like 3 or 4 hour gap between the speeches and the ceremony. Let's do the couple of shoots there, because after that we've only got 20 minutes gap per thing essentially. So we try to use that sort of thing. For videography, the other big thing we asked for is the what kind of look they want for the wedding. Right, okay. So we did a wedding. The second wedding we ever did was kind of like a gothy sort of castle looking thing.
Different.
Yeah, very different and very cool. And it was funny enough. It was
something to spice up, try and learn new skills, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. And it was in the middle of it's actually a 2-year anniversary yesterday. So it was like a late October, wintry Halloween looking wedding. And it was very challenging to shoot, but it's still one of our most successful ones. We still got quoted on it. So basically we ask what kind of feel they want to go for. And often they come back saying, oh, we want a summary sort of, like light look to our photos.
They typically send links through to videos that they've seen.
We try to get them to send us like Pinterest boards and stuff if we can, just so we can kind of get a look for it. But more often than not, they just write a sentence and then we'll follow up in the interview. In the Zoom call. So that's one thing we ask. And the other thing I ask for is, obviously we do 2 videos for them. So we do the highlight video, which goes on socials, which I'll find the license-free music for. And then we ask for videos that sort of, songs that sort of they want in their video. They want sort of between the highlight videos and
that are not your royalty-free.
Not royalty-free stuff, but obviously it's only for private use. And that kind of gives us 2 things. It gives us a feel for what kind of tone they're going for the day. But it kind of gives us a mental image of what the video could look like in the end as well. So we ask for a list of tracks and stuff like that. We also sometimes ask, if there's anything we need to know going on at the wedding, if there's something like,
like a surprise or...
Yeah, that too, yeah. If someone plans something, and sometimes they could be like, no, and they'd be like, no, we have, but I can't say because he's here or she's here, So we ask that sort of stuff, and we have been surprised a few times on that because they don't want to say.
Go on, what's the surprises being?
Like things like we go there and they'd be like, oh yeah, we've got a singing waiter. And it's like, all right, I don't know how to film that. So it's basically...
And who's the waiter? Like 1 of 12?
No, so they hire a guy or a girl, to dress up as one of the waiting staff.
Yeah.
Walk in front of the table, the main table, and pretend to drop all the plates and cutlery.
I die.
People run. I know, honestly.
That'd be my worst nightmare.
And one of them doesn't know, so they're like, oh my god, is he all right? And all that. And all the like guests run over, go helping him up. And he just pops up and starts singing like Sweet Caroline or something, and then does a cabaret sort of thing from there. So it's things like that pop up, and then we've had people show up in drag and sing like, random things and things. That's happened a couple of times. So it's a lot of interesting stuff.
So how many weddings do you think you've clocked now?
I don't know, to be honest with you. We've clocked a lot more than we actually share online. That's our downside, is we don't share a lot of stuff online because it's not our main sort of go-to. It's not our main jobs. It's like a freelancing. But I'd say probably about 20 in the last 2 years. So we are average about 10 a year.
Oh, nice.
So it's not bad, yeah. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but on average about 10 a year, say. So 10 a year, about 7 to 10 a year, something like that.
And do you usually get booked up like the year prior, or how does that work?
Yeah, well,
would you get like, oh, I've got a wedding in 3 weeks,
No, we never get any last minute ones really. Not really that much. I mean, they usually probably based on cancellations and stuff, I assume. More often than not, they're quite secured. The worst thing that happened to us was COVID. Not for the reason you probably think. Not because like, we didn't get jobs, and we didn't.
Yeah,
but we had our full time.
Yeah.
But it was more because people were pushing their weddings back. So in a year where we try to space things out, and we're like, right, we both lecture, so we both only get summers off, and we're like, right, well, let's just do maybe 1 a week or so.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, they all pushed them back and pushed them back and pushed them back, and
it caught up with the ones that you pre-booked like in 2 years.
The one we did last week was actually our like 3rd booking from like before we even started.
Mental.
So we just did it last week, and that was our final.
I can't believe they waited that long then.
Yeah, they kept pushing it back, and it's great for us because we wouldn't have had a wedding on this month actually, because we take a reduced sort of reduced booking list in term time for us to teach. But the worst thing that happened was COVID knocking these on, and then eventually when it came to last year, I think it was, we ended up we got married ourselves, but around that we did 4 weddings or 3 weddings that week. So we literally, like, on a Sunday we did a wedding, on a Monday we got married, came home for a night, unpacked, and went to North Wales to do a wedding. And it's like we end up having the busiest week of our entire, probably our lives, to be honest with you. And it's because of COVID.
And I was going to ask, what's the best way you find new clients? Do you find it's word of mouth, or is it self-promoting? Or?
Yeah, it's so we don't, because it's not our main income, our main business. Like I said, we lecture on the side. We lecture as our main income. This is our side thing.
Side hustle.
Yeah, side hustle, so to speak. Yeah, so we basically use Instagram primarily. We've got a website as well, but that doesn't bring in as much business. Most people go to Instagram these days. Weirdly enough, word of mouth is huge. So that first Gothic wedding we did, for example, we still get bookings today. We're like, oh my God, I saw your wedding of so-and-so and so-and-so. And we're like, yeah, great. That was the second wedding we ever did. And it's like, looking back, it's still a good video, but like, it's not the best one we've done.
Yeah, it's not the one like you would put at the top of your website. But it was definitely
the most unique looking one. Yeah. And I think that's a big selling thing, is like making it look unique, So mostly it's word of mouth. We don't do wedding fairs. We don't really post that much on socials because it's like we get home from work, we're naked, But mostly word of mouth, I'd say, at this point.
Yeah. So, and you've obviously managed to get consistent, regular bookings through that. Yeah.
I mean, we've got a rule where we kind of say no more than 10 a year because, obviously we work full time around that as well. But also, most people think, oh, you do a wedding, that's one day. It's not. It's like 2 months of editing after that. You know, if you really take your time and really do a good job.
Yeah, this is a question I asked you. Also, do you do like a bulk of filming? So summer you're flat out filming, and then do you do your editing then in the winter season, or do you try and do like a 3-month turnaround?
No, because we got a reduced sort of booking list. We very much just get on with it straight away. So after the wedding, I'll come home on say a Saturday night, put the gear in the dining room and just like leave it there. The next morning, I'll get up and start organizing the files. Right, I'll start getting stuff ready, the project files ready. But I'll more or less, if I'm not already editing a video from the last wedding, depends how close they are, I'll start editing that day, essentially. We have a rule, I have a rule because I do the videos. I never want more than one video project on the go, but one sitting there ready to go, if you know what I mean. So we'll never have 2 projects in our back pocket waiting to be edited. We'll just keep them continuously. So I'm always worried about what the next thing is, and I'm always worried about deadlines. And deadlines are my worst enemy, but my best friend at the same time. So I'm always like panicking. Oh my God, I got this one to do, but I got that one sitting there ready to go as well. And you know, that week in August I mentioned, that was a nightmare for me because I had just veins in my head stressing.
Yeah, deadlines are my worst nightmare because you also get a new book. You know, you got a client. You're actually editing the video for, then a new booking comes through, so you got to do a film day, and then like that catches up with that one, and then you think I gotta get this one out, but then you're doing a part.
Exactly, and it's so hard to say no as a freelancer as well. But you know,
especially if it's not your full-time occupation.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, lucky enough, we've got that cap on our business anyway, so we've never had to say no just yet in terms of a wedding booking, which is quite good. And they book so far in advance, you just, as long as you're not working term time,
pre-plan it by a year.
Exactly. I'd be like, oh, can I get that day off? Yeah, great, I'll do it then. I'm usually off on a Thursday or Friday, for example. So it's that sort of thing. But yeah, deadlines, you know, worst enemy, best friend.
Hate them, like.
Yeah, I don't know. I quite like them. They push you, but yeah.
And then obviously, what I was going to talk to you about, you briefly just touched upon like you're managing your files. Anyone who doesn't manage their files very well, talk me through like, so you've got your main project folder, just call it, I don't know, Emily and Darren's wedding. Yeah. What kind of folders are you in there to help you organize the structure of what you've got?
I've set up a template folder, and I always use that same template every time. So I'll just copy and paste it and then rename it because I use the same cameras, same audio files. What I'll do is I'll structure them in the way the day went. So I'll have one folder saying so-and-so and so-and-so's wedding. Go inside there. It will be videos and audio and music, 2 separate files. The music is just the music tracks. I'll get them on YouTube, whatever. The video, then I'll go into that folder and it'll be folder 1. I sequence it like it says of the day. So folder 1 is usually preparations and arrivals.
Right, okay. Folder
2 is ceremony. Folder 3 is daytime celebrations, which is usually where the couple shoot happens as well. So they're all in there. 4 would be speeches. 5 would be afternoon celebrations. 6 will be first dance, and 7 would be evening celebrations. Right, so that's when people get a bit more drunk, and so it's a bit more party vibe. So I like to keep them separate because first of all, the organization, but second of all, because it helps me organize my the big full day video. It helps me organize that more in my mind. And with the audio, I'll put the audio for each of these parts of the day if I'm doing audio. So if
you capture it separately,
so if I capture for this speeches and the ceremony, audio is a big thing. I'll have a separate folder within there saying audio, and then I'll have my microphone separate. So I'll have I got 2 little Sony clip-on mics, can't remember the code. I'll have them separate, and I'll always say like, group mic 1, group mic 2, that sort of stuff. And I'll know then I'm organized when I go home. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. And as long as you keep them separate like that, you can sort of edit them by section and then bring it all together for the big video at the end. So yeah, the full day video then.
So obviously you do a lot of like file management. Yeah. I'm quite the same, but you go a lot more into detail.
Yeah.
I've seen also on your website, you have like 3 main packages. Talk me through them, and obviously the concept behind them, why you come up with them, and kind of what each one broken down entails.
Okay. So the theme behind our business is obviously called Phinix Images, which in retrospect, I probably wouldn't have called it that business name, especially not the spelling.
Yeah, because the Phinix, you said off camera, was a combination of your...
Yeah, so it's my wife's name's Sophie, and I'm Nick, so Phinix, so we put it together, and we thought like, oh, okay, well, her name's spelled with a PH, so we'll put it Phinix Images. For SEO, that's a nightmare though, because every time you type Phinix Images in Google, it comes up, did you mean Phoenix Images, and shows you pictures of birds on fire. So for branding, lucky it's not a full-time thing in that respect. So yeah, we sort of thought like, well, it's quite good because, you know, this theme of we sort of rised up from nothing. It was just like, you know, sort of Phoenix from the ashes, that sort of thing.
Harry Potter kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And the bird sort of, the logo is like our videography and photography. It's like a flame going up in a video photography. Okay. So it's kind of like, it forms like a bird.
Yeah.
So a bit of context, I did an MA in public relations, media and communications. I actually teach on that now as well, which is, you know, quite interesting.
Yeah.
But part of that was branding and promotion. And I did start a business based off of my major project for that course. And it kind of fell into the you know, start of a business and the end of the course, so it kind of tied in. And, you know, we called it Phinix Images, the Firebird, that sort of stuff. And we thought, well, let's stick with the flame branding. So our packages, we got 3 of them. I think one's called Ignite, Spark,
okay.
You know, that sort of stuff. So we got these kind of like cool, quirky names just for brand consistency, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's really weird because we can't remember which one's which. So every time someone goes,
you quickly go back onto your website to have a look.
We're like, oh yeah, we love Spark, and like, all right, yeah, we do too. Spark, you know, wow. You know, so it's like, it's good because we got such a sort of a cool overall branding, but sometimes it's easy to forget what they are. Yeah, but they you know, people quote us on, like, they come in and say, I like the Ignite package, and we kind of get it on like scale as well. So Ignite or Spark would be like the smaller packages, and then gradually get bigger to like Flame or whatever we call the last one. So it's like
Bunsen burner,
bonfire. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, you know, we kind of had it go in, the bigger the package, the bigger the fire. So it's quite.
So talk me through the basic package first, and also I'll ask you about the.
So the basic package then is kind of, from what I remember off the top of my head, it's a like a 6-hour package, so a half-day package we call it. So weddings can be, I think our biggest one's like 12 hours plus.
Long day.
Very long day.
Feet are killing.
And it's 12 hours at the venue. So it's like, you know, we sometimes stay extra, people getting drunk, and there's more.
Yeah, that's just, so you're staying at the venue. You obviously might have the groom and bride getting ready before.
So it includes that part as well, regardless of where they are. We kind of ask what their day looks like and work out the times ourselves and work our way backwards. And if we find that people are getting married at midday and they're not doing much in the afternoon, we'll say, well, a 6-hour package will cover that, because you don't want any pre-shoots in terms of like prep, getting ready and stuff like that. You just literally want from the ceremony onwards.
So so your basic one is
from there, essentially. I mean, sometimes you know, we let them work out when they want us. So we say 6 hours, where that falls in the day, that's up to them.
Right.
So it could be like, okay, well, we're having prep and arrival and things at the house, and then the ceremony, but then not much after that. We're not having a first dance, or we're not having a big, you know, gathering of evening guests and stuff. So they might think the early half of the day works better for them. Others think like, oh, do you know what? I don't want shots of me half done in makeup. I don't want, you know, pictures of my soon-to-be husband with a tire on his head just getting ready in his boxers. I'd rather you just show up at the venue, get people arriving, and go from there. So it's entirely down to them. It depends as well whether they want photography only. So I think the very smallest package we do is photography only, in which case it's quite good for us because obviously me doing just video or Soph doing just photo, there's a lot of pressure on one person. But if we do a photography package, for example, then it's both of us doing it. So
you will pick up.
Yeah, I'll start doing the photography. Yeah, because that's where we started. So it's you know, it's kind of like going back to my roots, I guess, for lack of a better expression. So that's much better because we can get more interesting shots. Like when it comes to the ceremony, for example, if we're doing both, I've got to be pinned in one place with my tripod and maybe the gimbal. Soph will be mobile with the camera, but running around, and she's, you know, frantically running around. Whereas I could be like, look, I'm going down by the groom, you stay by the bride, and we'll get both shots. And we tend to get the best photos that way because like there's shots where like kids run down the aisle to see their father and stuff, and I get it from behind. So it's like it's a lot more interesting, a lot more diverse. That's not to say that obviously our photos don't come out perfect the way we want them to anyway in our eyes. But like we kind of get a lot more of a safety net then, I guess.
You're more relaxed during the whole day because you think, if I haven't got that shot, then obviously your wife will have the shot. Yeah,
exactly. And fair play to my wife as well. She's you know, doing a lot more video and stuff. So if she sees a moment happening way around the other side of the venue, I'm not there, I'm filming something else. She'd be like, oh my gosh, I got this shot for you. Like, and I look at it and I was like, oh cool, that video is great. And it's a lot more like handheld, but it works for the video.
It works.
And she gets all those sort of moments as well. And same as, you know, I can switch the camera mode and I can get some of the photos for her as well, stuff that I think that she might want to edit afterwards. So we work well in that respect.
That's good.
But the packages we offer, it tend to work better when we know what we're doing on the day. You know?
And then your top end packages, they're going to be like your full days.
Yeah, so I think that's like 12 hours plus, if I remember right. So they tend to be for people who want all the arrival stuff. We tend to sort of rock up at the house around about 9 o'clock. Again, depending on who's most likely to be ready, because sometimes the bride is having a hair done or makeup done at that point. They don't want.
There's usually a big party as well.
Party,
and like
it's a lot more going on.
Of them.
Yeah, the groom's party is a bit more. I say party. It's not really a party. It's more of a gathering. There's a bit more of them saying like, "Oh, have you seen my bow tie? Have you seen my tie?" And all that. Like,
yeah.
So
where's this? More, where's that?
Yeah. Whereas the bride,
my children.
yeah, and they just sitting there talking rubbish, and it's fun and it's a really good laugh, and it's like a typical like lad mentality, and it's really you can see the sort of like camaraderie between them and stuff, and it's really cool, and you get a feel for what's going to happen in the day with them. With the bride's party, it's a bit more like a party. It's exactly it. They got drinks
Prosecco.
out. Yeah, Prosecco everywhere. Balloons.
Man's having her hair done by the hairdresser. They got the makeup artist.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a lot more going on, and I prefer that part in the morning because it really gives us so much to work with. You know? And like I said, grooms are a bit more reluctant to be on camera because usually like, oh, I didn't want this, she wanted that. Yeah.
Right, mate.
Oh yeah, don't get my bad side, right? Yeah. That's so it's like it's funny, and you do play with it and have a joke and stuff. And then when it comes to the tail end of the day, it depends on, like we say 12 hours. That's not set in stone. If we feel like, okay, 12 hours have gone by, we're at the clock mark now and we're due to go, and we think things are starting to liven up. People getting a bit more drunk. People are starting to do their best dancing.
The first dance might not be like to 9 o'clock.
Exactly, yeah. And we're not going to just shoot out the door as soon as we press stop and go. If people are like, people get hammered at weddings. And they do some amazing dance moves. And if I think like, you know what, this is going to make my video awesome, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
We say 12 hours, but it tends to be sometimes 14.
Would you add the extra additional 2 hours on, and just do it?
Because we say that's in our interest. At that point. So we're doing that. I mean, it's not always. Sometimes we think like, oh, people aren't dancing much. There's not much going on. So we cap it at 12 hours, and that's kind of like, okay, if we have to go, we've filled our.
Yeah, if you feel like it's not livening up and it's mellow, you think.
Exactly, and people don't like cameras. They do not like cameras, and
unless they've
had
a drink.
Unless they've had a drink, but even that's not always true. So if they're feeling a bit like on edge and they don't let the cameras be in there, we may feel like we're holding the party up. So we're like, well, our 12 hours is done. We've got what we need. We can work with this. We'll go, and then the party will probably liven up after we're gone. We don't know, but people do their best dance moves. And I've been meaning for ages to make a compilation of all these dance moves.
Yeah, it's like a little fun one at the end of the year kind of thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I tend to. So with our video packages, going a bit off topic sort of, but not really. With our video packages, we do two videos. The highlight video they share online and the big video.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What's the deliverables? Are they all the same throughout?
Yes.
Or they vary?
So they vary in length, obviously, depending on the package you go for, because we can only do so much with 6 hours of footage, but we do loads of 12. Deliverable-wise, we give them the one main highlight video, which is the one you see on socials, the one that's got licensed.
And how long is that going to be approximately?
Depends, really.
1 minute to 3 minutes, or are you just talking like a quick reel?
No, it's about 1 minute, 3 minutes. Yeah, okay. Sometimes the longest one we've done is about 6 or 7 minutes.
And the highlights, what are you entailing within the highlights?
So a highlight video, we did initially kind of do it sequentially at one point. So it depends on the day itself. We did it sequentially for the initial few just to play it safe. Now we try to incorporate more of the audio in there to tell the story.
That's what I try and do. I try and take the best speech.
Yes.
It's usually like the dad to the
I think I saw the one you did a while back. And,
and then you just use that as the main.
And you lay the footage over the top of it if you feel like it's relevant to the video. So like in the speeches, they'll probably say like, oh, you look gorgeous today and stuff. And that's when we'll cut back to them. We'll go back to when they're doing the hair and stuff and show them getting ready to get gorgeous then, I guess.
Yeah.
So we tend to make it more of a story in that respect. And so that video depends on how much of the speech we use.
So that's your highlight one.
It's a highlight video, yeah. And they can share that online because we use music license-free licensed platforms.
Where'd you get yours from?
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. Okay.
Not SoundCloud, sorry.
No. Epidemic Sound?
No.
Soundstripe.
Music Bed. Yeah, Soundstripe it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So Soundstripe was the reason we went to that one initially, is because it was cheaper than Music Bed. Right, so Music Bed is fantastic, and we tried it for a year.
I think Music Bed and Artlist, the top ones, they're quite.
Artlist was another one we tried for a while, but it was a lot more expensive. Whereas Soundstripe, they got sound effects we use. They got a load of the licensed music is really quite trendy, I guess. For lack of it. So it's really good, and it's cost effective for us, because if it was a full time thing, we'll fork out for the top end stuff.
Yeah.
But this gets by, and no one knows the songs anyway. So as long as they're not going to get it pulled off.
As long as it fits the feel of the video they're trying to portray.
And wedding music tends to be a general sort of niche anyway in terms of a continuous theme. So you'll go on these both websites, get 2 songs. One's cost you like 500 quid a year. One's cost you £50 a year, but they both sound quite similar. It's what you do with the music that really counts.
Especially if you're getting audio from the speeches, that's what actually cements the video.
Exactly. There's just an underlying audio track underneath, really. And with like Premiere remix functions and stuff, you can shape that as long as you need to and cut things out and stuff. So you can get really creative with it. So that's our highlight video. And that tends to be like almost like a trailer for the day.
And that's for the whole packages.
That's for everything. We always do a highlight video. The other deliverable we do is
the tongue twister.
Yeah, I know, I can't say it. Tripping on my own words here. It's a full day video, and that is what probably takes the most work in terms of time wise. So the way I structure it is I film in full the ceremony.
Yes.
With multicam setup, multi-audible setup. So that's always in full. So they get that kind of like the old...
Do you pre-sync that, or is it kind of post? You sync that in edit?
No, I post. I mean, I'll go on the mic and say this is the groom mic 1, or this is the officiant's mic, and that's about it, really. It's just so I can identify it in the edit. And I'll label them in the production stage, and color coordinating it, and I'll know what's what. But in terms of pre-syncing it, no, I don't do that, because a lot of the functions, the audio functions in Premiere these days are so good, you can sort of work it out. Once or twice it'll miss, and you have to manually line up sound
you're
waves.
Looking for that one
laugh
or clap or
you're like, oh, where is that glass ping? It's like, oh, there it is, that little spike, it's that sort of stuff. So so that's the ceremony. We do that in full as well, and we got a multicam setup. And the reason we have a multicam setup is because we're moving around. My wife's moving around taking photos. I want to make us invisible. So if she walks in front of a camera for a split second, I'll cut to another cam.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The idea is we're not on camera as best we can do it anyway. So the ceremony and the speeches and the first dance are filmed in full, essentially.
And are you putting them into the main video in a full? Or are you cutting the best bits from each segment?
In full, yeah. So there's times where like focus misses, and I don't know, where audio cuts out for whatever reason, stuff like that. But ultimately, it's kind of like those old home videos from the 80s you see where your parents' wedding videos.
So they must be quite a lengthy video then.
The longest we've done is about an hour and 40 minutes. And the reason that is as well, because rather than make it just a case of like, all right, here's your speeches, like goes to black, fade back in, here's your first dance, I tend to make it like almost like a little film in itself. So the intro will start with a cue card saying so-and-so's wedding, and it'll fade in, fade to black, and then we'll start with almost like a mini highlight video.
Yeah, like a...
Yeah. So this will tell the story of them getting ready, then both and I'll mix it to make it look like a film, essentially. It's got to
draw the audience.
Yeah, it's got the black bars, that sort of stuff, and then that'll go right up to the point where the bride walks down the aisle, and then the bars will sort of animate off the screen.
Nice touch.
And then, obviously the color grading might go a bit more natural and stuff like that, but it'll ultimately seamlessly go into that point. Then I'll cut out bits of the ceremony, like when they're doing the sign-in and stuff. You can't film that for legal reasons, obviously. So, things like that. So you'll cut that out, fade it back into when they walk down the aisle. And then I'll have another highlight video, which will be about 2 minutes long to the music of their choice, where it shows people celebrating, having drinks and all that sort of stuff. All the stuff we film that probably might not have is really quite it's probably my best part of the video. So we have credits rolling at the end as well, saying starring so and so as the bride, so and so as the groom, and then featuring the bridal party and special appearance by this stuff like that. So we make it kind of look
fun,
quite fun. Then we give the music credits as well, and shot on location live at and it makes it look like a cinematic experience. But we do that on half the screen, and then the other half of the screen is actually all the footage we didn't use because I've hit my gimbal, or Soph's filmed it on handheld, it's a bit shaky to go in the main video. And we put like like those old 3, 2, 1 like countdowns to the film. So we put that in the beginning, and we put a grain over the top of it and make it look like an old 80s home movie. And it's all stuff that was like, I don't know, you'll see the bride and groom having a laugh and stuff like that, and they between like poses and laughing, going, "Oh, this is awkward" and stuff like that. So it's all silent, but it looks like
the more natural stuff,
like outtakes, like
bloopers.
So like one of the ones we had recently was like when we were at church filming, and the guy let the vicar or whoever's running the church at the time went in and let the groom play with the bells. So he's like ringing the bells, going like that, and I was like, that doesn't go anywhere in the video. But at the end, when he's like laughing,
but like it's good to have.
It's funny, and because my wife filmed it, I didn't see it. She filmed it, and because she hasn't got a gimbal because she's doing photos, it was a bit shaky, and I was like, this is perfect. This is an outtake, but it's like. It's ideal, and we get people like dancing in the evening, come up to us and like pull faces in the mic,
just like grab the camera, like
and they'll start shaking and like and like they'll be like, "Oh, film me," and they'll do something stupid. It doesn't go anywhere in the big video because it's like this romantic, consistent theme. But at the end, and they're almost like the bloopers part, it works. So we try to make the big video like a full cinematic experience.
Right, got you.
And the least, so the shortest one we've done is probably about an hour and 10, hour and 20. But one of the more recent ones we've done was about an hour and 45, hour and 40.
Mental.
So it's crazy. And then
how does your computer deal with the timeline?
I kind of keep them separate as best I can. So I've got a computer in work which I fairly rarely use. I'll do a bit of color grading on once or twice in some downtime. But I've got obviously a 2019 Mac, I think it is, and we upgraded the RAM just because I knew this is going to be huge. In terms of dealing with a timeline, though, I'll just do them separate, and then I'll sort of bring them all in. Will you
export it?
No, I don't export it. No, okay. But so I'll keep it separate and keep it all in its own sequence. And then when I finish that sequence, I'll close it down. That's it. It's saved, but it's there when I need it. And then when I'm ready to export the big video, the large video, that's when I feel like, what, I can make my computer scream now. I don't need the RAM.
Then you put it into one big giant sequence.
Yeah, I don't need the RAM right now to actually do the work. It's all done. I'll just copy and paste it into one sequence and export it. And it takes hours to export. Even when we send it to the media encoder, which is meant to be quicker, it still takes like overnight.
I don't use the media encoder much at all.
It's quite good. It's really good if you want to continue working
in the background.
Yeah, because otherwise you get that exporting dialog box and you're like, oh my God, I'm really in the flow here. And you're taking me out of it by saying I've got 48% left to go, and it's like, it takes hours. But
13 hours left.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh my God, but media encoder is quite good if you feel like you can do a bit more work in that time. But it's a strain on the CPU as well. So,
and then your wife then, regarding the packages, what do her deliverables change in regards to photos, or
no?
She pretty much the ones she likes, you can have them all kind of thing. So
what we try to do, the day after a wedding, she'll edit a few pictures that she feels like she's earmarked to sort of be like, right, these are like good.
These
shots,
are like, these are the.
And she'll edit those the next day, and we're quite quick at editing because we've been doing it for years at this point, and she'll edit the best ones she can to the best of her ability, and then obviously send it off as a preview. And that's enough to hold them over for the time being. We say, hey guys, here's your sneak peeks then,
It's a little highlight as well.
Yeah, just a little taste of what's to come. And then that's it. And then within the months to follow, what happens is I'll do the video, she'll edit the photos when she gets them then.
Yeah.
And we'll deliver them all at the same time. So the main album she does is probably got an excess of about 600 photos sometimes. Absolutely crazy,
And realistically, they're only going to ever use 10%, 5%.
That's why we call them the hero shots. So those they're
going to be the top of your fireplace shots.
Exactly, the printed shots, the ones you put on social, stuff like that. No one's going to want to see 40 pictures of you and your dad. So they're just for people. So we put them on an online gallery. Say share the password, share the link with whoever you want. They can go in and pick whatever photos.
And then what platform are you using?
That's called Shootproof.
Okay.
So when we had our wedding, the guy who did our wedding was fantastic. He sent us our photos in Shootproof. And we used to originally do it for our Squarespace site.
Right.
And it took ages to upload, and we all out of sequence. Shootproof is an online platform. We can share galleries, password protected, and they can download them in HD. Right. So they download the original exported
Can they
files.
come with watermarks just in case?
You can put them on there. Yeah, you can do. But we don't tend to, because we're like, well, you're sharing it with guests and you paid us. So,
Yeah, so quickly just on that, in regards to like payment and stuff, how do you structure that?
So payment, we always ask for a deposit.
Like 20%?
Usually about 20%. Yeah, thereabouts.
A year out, is it? Or like just to lock in the date?
We say it's like usually before the wedding at some point, but we're quite flexible because it's not our main income. We don't really depend on that cash for anything so much. So we kind of like, well, we need it no less than, I don't know, a month before the wedding, something like that. My wife does all the financial side of it.
She's the accountant.
Yeah, she's the one who constructed. She's a law teacher, so she kind of constructed all these contracts and stuff.
It's a handy skill to have.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, so in terms of the admin side of it and the contracts and the invoices, she's on top of it. So she'll send out an email, saying like, hey guys, you booked in, once you give us a deposit, we'll secure the date permanently and go from there. And then the rule of thumb we have is that we send them the regardless of whether full payment's been made or not at the wedding day, the day after we'll send them the previews. And quick reminder saying like, by the way, this month's outstanding, here's the new invoice, that sort of thing. Just to remind you, we won't release anything else till you've given us full payment. So they've got the preview shots, but in terms of the videos and the full album, it could be like 4 months. Some people need to pay us, and weddings are expensive, so some people need to sort of reaccumulate that cash to pay us. We're usually the last people to get paid at a gig. So we say, that's fine, take your time, there's no rush, but we will not send anything out until we get paid, because why would you,
And then on that question, do you sign any contracts?
We get them to sign a contract beforehand, which is the 20% deposits. That sort of stuff.
Agreeing to whichever package they go for.
Yeah, exactly. So they sign up with the say what they want photo and video for the day, what package they're going for, and agree to the payment of the deposits. And obviously just agree to the booking in general. And again, Soph does all this sort of stuff. It's really well written. She's got loads of terms and conditions and stuff I would never have thought of.
I need this template on the side.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's
you want to sell it?
Yeah, she's on top of it, definitely. And then they kind of agreed to it by signature essentially. So, yeah.
So that keeps your mind rest assured that obviously the client's going to pay.
And we've had a few cancelled because of COVID and stuff like that. And they've been like, oh, can we have a deposit back and stuff like that? And we're like, well, what's the point of the deposit then? So we're like, no, we can't. Our policies
not non-refundable.
Non-refundable, essentially.
Yeah, because it's not your fault. Obviously, if you pencil in a date.
We've also lost the money we potentially could have earned from another person.
Yes, that's true.
It's a lot to take in, but money's I'm not a big fan of it. But to be honest with you, I think money is one of those things that people need to talk more about in the industry.
Yeah,
because
I do try and ask 1 or 2 questions on here.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a bit like how you come up with like your packages prices.
Exactly, and
I remember when I first started out doing weddings, I think I charged for like a full day. Like it was only myself.
Yeah,
it was like £700.
Yeah, but did you find that when you were researching costings, it was hard to find a comparison?
I couldn't find them.
Yeah. So we pulled them out of we pulled them out of thin air essentially, and because we were starting, we charged.
But when I looked at your prices, I thought they were like average market prices, like enough, especially if you've got 2 shooters.
Yeah, and we're not charging for the nose for it because we don't need to, because it's not our main source of income, so to speak. But we found that when we started the business, we were like, right, we got the template, we've got the package ideas, we got the kind of time frame, we got the branding, that sort of stuff. Let's work on the costing. And we spent ages, and people are so reluctant to put their prices online. They're like, email for a quote and all that. And it's like, why are you being so secretive? We know roughly how much it's going to cost, but we just kind of need to know what kind of, I guess it's for competitive reasons, but at the same time,
there's also other variables that obviously come into play, whether you want to go into the variables, really deep, but if the main variable is experience and kind of what portfolio you've got already,
exactly,
you could then go into other variables like camera equipment and all that malarkey, but like as long as you've got the main foundations, they're pretty much going to be not far off each other across the board.
They're not that far off each other at all, really. And we found from experience as well that if you're starting out, most couples are very eager to come for you if you've got prices on your website.
Yeah,
like we had a few people saying like, "I'll be keen to you because we saw your prices." We didn't want to.
Yeah, they can't be asked about like.
No, because you get you'll email, you write this nice email up saying, "Hi, I want a price, I want a cost, love your photos, all the the kissing up you're doing everyone," and then they'll get a price back and be like, "Oh yeah, it's $4,000 for the day." It's like, well, I'm not paying that. So
well, yeah, and that would also take a whole another day because they'd have to maybe jump on a Zoom call. Then you'd have to write like what they want, how long, and all the things your packages are already put out online. Offering.
Yeah, and also it's very much a game of first come first serve with photography. Yeah, well, chess. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a mind game actually, but it's first come first serve with photography booking. So while you're waiting for this guy who you may or may not go with, your other sort of like potential go-to who you're waiting for a costing from is now being booked up. So you could be like, oh no, I've waited 2 days, I got my quote back, I don't like you, I'll go with the original guy. He's like, well, I booked up now. So putting your prices out there saves that elimination of time.
And you've definitely found it's worked for
It's definitely worked. And it adds that extra layer of like trust and transparency between us and the clients. Because it shows that we have confidence in our own work. It shows that we are like, well, you know, no secrets. This is what we charge. This is what it is. And this is what you get, essentially. And there's no mind games. It's very much just a case of like, we are very open.
This is who we are.
This is who we are.
What we offer.
Exactly. Yeah.
How much it's going to cost you.
Yeah. And we plaster ourselves all over our brand, even as far as the name. And as people, we are quite transparent in that sort of stuff. So it's like, well, why would we be secretive about this one element of our business? 90% of our business is on this website, not our prices. The main thing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy. It's like, why are you hiding it? Yeah.
And then lastly, before you shoot off, because we nearly hit the clock.
Wow. Yeah.
Quick, innit?
Yeah.
It is quick. Any quick horror stories that you've had or experienced on a wedding?
Not horror stories as such, difficulties. Like, I think the main thing is I found initially was that people wouldn't play ball. So not so much a horror story, but like certain professional people in the industry, wedding industry, then they may be reluctant to accommodate for you. So I like to mic up certain people in like the officiant or vicar, that sort of stuff. And half the time they're like, no. I'm like, well, why? You know, like, what's your problem with me? And I take it personally, and I start muttering and swearing under my breath and stuff like that. But then it's like you learn to sort of like not take it personally, and you sort of work around it. Like, I'll go up to like an officiant and be like, can I mic you up? And they're no, I'm loud enough. I was like, you're not, but all right. And they're like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, all right, fine. And you go up behind them and put it on the wall. It's like, oh, I'll mic it here then. I'll use that. So not horror stories, but it's difficulties, yeah. And ultimately people seem to forget that's why we're all in it. We're not there for ourselves. We're there for the couple.
It's all about them.
If they came back that like I give a bad video at the end of it, or Soph give a bad photo, and it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, oh, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? I was like, well, it wasn't us. It was the other person. They put that barrier up. Ultimately, we work for the couple. But these other people kind of might try to trip you up. You know, maybe not intentionally, but sometimes unintentionally. But people seem to forget why they're there. And that's the ultimate thing, really. But yeah, not so much horror stories, just challenges, I guess. So.
Nice one. Nick, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
For people who may be looking to get a wedding booked, or obviously check out your content, where can they find you?
So it's phinximages.com. Spelled Phinix, not Phoenix the Firebird. I got to change that branding. And obviously I'm Nick Ridd on social media, on Instagram, and my wife's Soph James. But yeah, just a quick search and you should be able to find something from us.
Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks guys for listening. Have a good one.